In this video, you're going to learn a really simple way to think about musical style, and you're going to have clarity about how to approach all different kinds of material. So before I headed off to college in 1996 to study musical theater, I didn't know what a jazz shoe was. I didn't know anything about a Ben Nye makeup kit, and I definitely didn't know what a dance belt was yet. But I was ready to go. So in preparation, I read A Challenge for the Actor by Uta Hagen. I didn't know how to even pronounce Uta Hagen's name, but I took copious notes on all of the strange and new exercises that she taught in this book. I was ready for this rigorous training regime. Then she came for my regional dialect. She didn't single me out specifically by twang, but I knew my Surrey County drawl wouldn't fly at HB Studios. So I broke the news to my dad, whom I would continue to call Daddy. They couldn't take that away from me. So we were shrink wrapping a pallet of boxes of rope one day, and I said, Daddy, I don't want you to think I'm putting on airs, but I'm going to have to work on my accent. No matter how much dialect adjustment I did, even after I graduated from college and I was living in London, the vicar at the church I attended, he would always greet me with a very hearty, "Well, howdy, Danny Calloway," which was, I guess, his Brit point of view on my dialect. But it was, in fact, in London when I experienced a real dark night of the dialect soul. And it wasn't about my southern drawl sticking out like a sore thumb on trips to Scotland. It happened in auditions. I was able to get an agent when I got to London, and this agent also happened to be producing a UK tour of Rent. I went into the audition and I sang Gethsemane from Jesus Christ Superstar, which was the closest thing I had to rock at the time. And later, when I met up with the agent, he expressed that he was disappointed, that he thought I would be much more American, much more in your face and aggressive, and all of the basic stereotypes of what an American singing rock music should be to him. So this actually began my long and protracted battle with trying to fake people out that I could sing rock, which was being asked more and more, and I felt like I didn't have the skills to embody it. And oddly enough, I would keep getting called back for productions of Rent. I would go in and I would think, why are they calling me in for this? I'm so not right for this project, when all the people calling me in obviously saw something in me that I wasn't able to see. And this is where a huge light bulb finally went off for me. I noticed in many situations that the way people were perceiving me was very different from what my internal world told me I was. And this turned out to be terrific news, because as a theater singer, the essence of me was always going to be me. And when I actually jumped into the energetic column of this character I was playing, then that way of singing, that way of speaking, that way of carrying my body became natural. I can remember the very first time I visited the UK and I heard Brits speaking, and I seriously had a few hours of disbelief that they actually spoke that way. And I'm sure they were in equal disbelief about my way of speaking. But to me, that was very normal and familiar. That's what we have to remember as theater singers, that the character that we are playing, to that character, that way of being, speaking, and acting is native to who they see themselves being. So for me, while it no longer feels natural to say wean and wean as multisyllabic homonyms, the Southern spice still seasons my vowels and vocal melody. Since I've lived in lots of different spots, I've studied humans with different ways of talking and being. And it made me realize there is a direct connection there with musical style. A human usually speaks and moves the way they do because of the sounds and the movements they were surrounded by growing up. These become ways to connect and communicate. When I lived in London, my American dialect stayed intact, but I changed inflections without noticing it. I was adapting to the sounds around me so that I could be understood, so that I could connect, so that folks would even know that I was actually asking a question. It took me like 3 months to understand that a question was being asked in the first place, with the whole Brit pitch down swoop before a slight rise. You know how they go da ba da ba da 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 da. Yeah, that's how you ask a question. Would you like to go to the park? Yeah. So anyway, in North Carolina, a question was communicated through an upward slide of at least a perfect fifth through a diphthong extravaganza. So that would be like, you want to go to the park? You going to the store? Question. So the more folks I encountered, the more I learned that musical style is dialect. Musical style grows from the soil and the soul of a place. Think about what comes up in your head when I say these words: reggae, hip hop, British music hall, bluegrass, metal, 80s pop, 1920s crooning, bel canto, bossa nova, vaudeville. Each of these style names evokes place and culture. The big mistake theater singers make when they seek to embody different styles is that they focus first on how a style sounds. What needs to happen is to back up and ask, who am I? My ego identity is going to be very different if I grew up in Black Mountain, North Carolina, as opposed to Madrid. Where did this style grow up? And who am I as a communicator of this style? That's where to begin. This question will change everything because you'll start to embody the style rather than parrot sounds. I'm remembering a road trip from North Carolina back to Massachusetts, and I studied a group of men talking around a Sheetz gas pump, and their bodies spoke in Surrey County, the way they laughed and moved. And then I imagined a similar scenario at the service station near my house in Massachusetts, and the bodies and the voices were very different. Tighter torsos, tenser shoulders, quicker arms and hands. It reminds me actually of a dance call that I had for Jersey Boys. I could not get the style down because it was sharp and compact and it felt wrong in my body. So you can take the boy out of Surrey County. I mean, you know, my friend Jared, he did Jersey Boys for years and he's from Georgia, so he was able to embody it, but I was not. Good job, Jared. I think it was all of his Michael Jackson studies throughout his youth. So when you approach musical style and dialect in any material you work on, ask those questions. Who am I? Where did I grow up? And what are my assumptions about how I relate? Let that affect your body and then see how the voice follows. You yourself, in your own life, you show up with your voice and your body based on a whole life's collection of influences and choices about how you want to connect to the world. The characters you play and the songs you sing are no different. And inside of there is only one you, singing whatever style you're singing. And I believe that folks need to hear the story only you can sing, in whatever dialect that may be. And for more on this, watch this video that I have here next about 2 questions you can ask in order to let your body start teaching you naturally the sounds that come genuinely from your own soul. So I'll see you over there, or go sing. Bye.